Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into motivation.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, so specifically we're looking at all the great stuff from the Motivation Fluent English podcast.
Okay.
And I don't know about you, but I feel like I can always use like a little motivational boost.
Yeah, for sure.
So hopefully we'll find some good nuggets in here together.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what really stood out to me about this podcast was just how practical it is.
Mhm.
It's not just like, get pumped up, rah, rah.
Yeah.
It's really about like building systems for yourself to stay motivated.
Yeah, totally. And it's interesting because they start off by talking about the importance of belief,
Right.
but they kind of frame it in this really interesting way. It's not necessarily about having like this rock solid certainty that you're going to succeed at something.
Yeah.
It's more about trusting the process.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and it's like almost like when you're about to do something that's kind of scary but exciting.
Yeah.
You don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, but you just have this feeling like you can handle it.
Right.
And they actually share this anecdote in the podcast about achieving something that at first just seemed totally impossible.
Oh, wow.
And it reminded me of that time I finally finished that marathon. I thought I'd never be able to run.
That's awesome.
Have you ever had something like that where you surprised yourself with what you were able to accomplish?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we all have those moments where, you have these hidden reserves you didn't even know you had
Totally. Yeah.
until you're kind of pushed outside your comfort zone a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've got belief as this foundation,
Mm-hmm.
but then they bring in this idea of discipline, which I think is something that so many people, like myself included,
Yeah.
sometimes overlook.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's so easy to get caught up in the initial excitement of a new goal or, you get that burst of motivation.
Yes.
But then what happens when that fades?
Right.
That's where discipline kicks in.
Totally. They had a really good analogy for that in the podcast, too.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
They were comparing motivation to a spark
Okay.
and discipline to the fuel that keeps the fire going.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
Because it makes it clear, discipline is about showing up even when you don't feel like it.
Exactly. Think about athletes who train every single day, no matter what, even when they're tired or sore.
Right.
That consistency, that dedication, that's what gets them to mastery.
Totally. So it's not about always feeling super motivated.
Uh-huh.
It's about doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it.
Exactly. Building those habits, making it like second nature.
Okay, so we've got belief and discipline.
Yeah.
But what about when things get tough? Because let's face it, they inevitably will.
Right.
And, the podcast actually has this really interesting take on struggles and setbacks.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
It's kind of like they almost celebrate them.
Really?
Yeah, and they use this phrase that I love. They call challenges an opportunity in disguise.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
they're saying don't just endure challenges, embrace them.
I like that.
I have to admit, when I first heard it, I was like, huh.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, the more it makes sense.
I can see that.
It's all about reframing, seeing these obstacles as chances to learn and grow.
Right. Exactly. And it's like that saying, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Facing challenges, figuring out how to overcome them. That's what makes you resilient.
Totally.
Makes you resourceful.
Uh-huh.
It forces you to think outside the box.
And sometimes, you discover hidden strengths you didn't even know you had.
Absolutely.
They also talk about this idea of reframing failure, which I think is so powerful.
Right.
Because it's so easy to get caught up in that feeling of oh, I messed up.
Yeah.
But they're saying it's not the end of the world. It's feedback.
Right.
It's an opportunity to course correct.
Sometimes you need to stumble or even fall flat on your face to realize you're going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Those setbacks can be so valuable.
If we look at them as learning experiences instead of personal defeats.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so this next topic is one I'm particularly intrigued by, and that is visualization.
Okay.
I used to think it was kind of fluffy,
Yeah.
but this podcast presents it as like a seriously powerful tool.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they say it's not just about like, sitting around daydreaming.
Uh-huh.
It's about intentionally using your imagination to create this mental blueprint for success.
Okay.
And they suggest getting super specific, like really visualize yourself achieving your goal and engage all your senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? Even like, what do you smell?
Interesting.
And the key is to really tap into the emotions
Okay.
that you would feel in that moment of accomplishment.
Yeah.
It's about making it so real in your mind that your
Real.
brain starts to believe it's possible.
Yeah. I can see that.
And what I find so fascinating about visualization is that it kind of primes your brain for success.
Yeah.
Because you're repeatedly like imagining yourself achieving this goal.
Yeah.
You're strengthening those neural pathways.
Interesting.
So it becomes more likely that you'll actually take the actions you need to make it a reality.
Like you're practicing for a big game.
Exactly.
The more you rehearse, the more confident you feel when game time actually comes.
It's like almost like you're tricking your brain into thinking you've already achieved it,
Right.
which then motivates you to bridge the gap between your mental image and reality.
Totally. It's like aligning your thoughts and actions with that desired outcome.
Mm-hmm.
You're setting yourself up for success on a subconscious level.
Okay, so we've got belief discipline, embracing struggles, visualization.
Yeah.
Now they bring in this idea of purpose.
Okay.
And they use this analogy that I just love.
Okay, what is it?
They say motivation without purpose is like a car without fuel.
Ooh, that's good.
So you might look the part,
Yeah.
but you're not going to get very far.
Right.
And it really highlights how crucial it is to understand your why.
Totally.
Like, what's the driving force behind what you're trying to do? What
Yeah.
makes it all worthwhile?
What makes you want to get out of bed in the morning?
Exactly. And they really emphasize that, like, having that clear why,
Uh-huh.
it can provide a sense of direction and resilience.
Right.
Especially when things get tough.
So it's like having a compass that's guiding you
Exactly.
through the storms,
Yeah.
reminding you why you set out on this journey in the first place.
And they suggest, like, writing down your why
Okay.
and revisiting it regularly, especially, like, when you're feeling discouraged or unmotivated.
That's a good idea.
It's like a personal pep talk
Yeah.
to remind yourself of what you're working towards and why it matters so much.
Right.
So it's about anchoring yourself to your goals,
Uh-huh.
even when the winds of doubt and difficulty start to blow.
So connecting with that inner drive
Yes.
that keeps you moving forward,
Exactly.
even when you're not sure what's coming next.
Totally.
I love that.
Okay, so we've covered like a lot of ground already,
Yeah.
but I kind of want to shift gears a bit
Okay.
and tap into your expertise
Right.
on something that the podcast touches on,
Yeah.
which is this feeling of being overwhelmed by like really big goals.
Right.
I know I've definitely been there before,
Yeah.
where it just feels like, oh my gosh, this is such a huge mountain to climb.
For sure.
Like, how do I even get started?
It's funny you should mention that because I was actually just reading a study
Oh, really?
that showed how breaking down large goals into smaller steps can drastically increase your chances of success.
Oh, interesting.
It's all about making it feel more manageable.
Okay. Yeah.
So instead of focusing on the summit of that mountain,
Right.
you're just thinking about putting one foot in front of the other,
Yeah, I love that.
taking those small steps.
It's so much more approachable.
Exactly. And each step you take, no matter how small it is, it reinforces your belief that you can actually do this.
Yeah, totally.
It builds momentum.
Right.
Every small win kind of fuels your motivation to keep going.
Oh, speaking of small wins,
Yes.
the podcast also talks about the importance of celebrating those small wins.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah, it's not about like throwing a party every time you check something off your to-do list,
Yeah.
but it's about acknowledging your progress and giving yourself a little pat on the back.
It's so easy to get caught up in what we haven't accomplished yet
Right.
that we forget to celebrate how far we've already come.
Totally. And those small celebrations, they're like positive reinforcement. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm actually capable of making progress.
You're reminding yourself that you can do this.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about breaking down those goals,
Right.
celebrating the wins.
Yeah.
But what about when you're struggling to like even get started?
Yeah.
And the podcast talks about, connecting with your why,
Right.
but sometimes even that's not enough.
I think a lot of times procrastination stems from fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best way to overcome that fear is just to take action.
Do it.
Yeah, even if it's imperfect action.
Oh, they talk about that too.
Yeah.
Imperfect action is better than no action.
So true.
It's about breaking free from analysis paralysis.
Right.
And just doing something.
Yeah, just start somewhere.
Yeah.
Adjust course as you go.
I love that perspective.
It's like that Amelia Earhart quote.
Oh, yeah.
The most effective way to do it is to do it.
So good.
Sometimes we get so caught up in planning and strategizing
Right.
that we forget that the real magic happens when we actually start moving.
So true. So it's about shifting from a mindset of overthinking to a mindset of doing.
Absolutely.
Love it. Okay. And I think it's also important to remember that motivation is not a constant.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There are going to be days when you feel super energized and inspired.
Right.
And then there are going to be days when you would rather stay in bed.
And that's okay.
It's totally normal.
The key is to have systems in place
Okay.
that will support you, even when your motivation is wavering.
So it's about building those habits
Right.
and those routines.
Yeah, will carry you through those inevitable dips.
Exactly. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about something that can be a real motivation killer,
Okay, what's that?
and that is negativity.
Oh, yeah.
How do you stay positive and focused
Yeah.
when you're just like surrounded by negativity?
That's a great question.
It can be such a drain.
It really can.
Yeah.
No, I think it's like we have these invisible antennas
Yeah.
that pick up on the energy around us.
Right.
And when we're constantly bombarded with negativity, it's bound to affect our own outlook.
Like those energy vampires.
Totally.
They just like suck the life out of you.
Yeah.
But seriously, though, the podcast talks about the importance of creating a positive environment, which
Well-
I think is so crucial. But how do you do that
Yeah.
when you can't always control your surroundings?
Well, for starters, it's about being mindful of the company you keep.
Okay.
Are the people you're spending the most time with lifting you up or dragging you down?
Yeah, are they supporting your goals or like kind of undermining your efforts?
Exactly.
They even suggest doing a bit of a social media audit,
Oh, interesting.
which I think is so smart.
Yeah.
Are you following accounts that inspire you or accounts that make you feel inadequate?
Right. It's about being intentional,
Yeah,
about the information that you're consuming,
totally.
curating that online experience.
And it's not just about the people you surround yourself with, it's also about the content you're taking in.
What are you feeding your mind?
Yeah.
Is it empowering you or is it draining your energy?
I find it really helpful to have a few like go-to resources
Well, yeah.
that I can turn to when I need a boost.
Like what?
So like inspirational podcasts, books with positive messages, even just like a playlist of upbeat music.
It's like you're creating a first aid kit for your motivation.
Totally. Yeah.
I love that.
And I think it's also important to remember that you have a choice in how you respond to negativity.
Right.
You might not be able to control the external circumstances,
Yeah.
but you can control your internal dialogue.
That's where the power of self-talk comes in.
Exactly.
It's about consciously choosing to focus on the positive,
Right.
reframing those negative thoughts,
Right.
reminding yourself of your strengths and your capabilities.
So instead of saying like, oh, I can't do this,
Right.
you can say like, I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah, it's a subtle shift
Yeah.
that can make a world of difference.
So powerful. Okay, so we've talked about creating a positive environment
Right.
mastering our self-talk.
Yes.
But I'm curious to get your take on something else the podcast emphasizes, and that is persistence.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's so easy to say, never give up,
Yeah.
but how do you actually stay persistent when you're facing those setbacks and obstacles?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions about success is that it's linear.
Mm-hmm.
We see these highlight reels of people achieving their goals,
Right.
and we forget about all the hard work and the setbacks and the moments of doubt.
It's like those before and after photos.
Exactly.
You just see the end result. You don't see, like, the messy, imperfect process.
Right. And I think it's important to normalize the struggles.
Yes.
It's okay to have bad days,
Right.
to feel discouraged, to want to give up.
Totally.
What separates those who succeed from those who don't is the ability to keep going even when it's tough.
And they talk about reframing failure as feedback.
Right.
It's not the end of the road.
It's an opportunity to learn,
Yeah.
to adjust course,
Right.
and come back even stronger.
I think it's also helpful to have a support system in place.
Yeah.
People who believe in you and your vision, even when you're doubting yourself.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders
Yes.
who are there to pick you up when you fall.
And remind you why you started in the first place.
Exactly.
That's so powerful.
Yeah, persistence isn't just about gritting your teeth and pushing through.
Uh,
It's also about surrounding yourself with people who empower you.
We are social creatures.
We are.
And our connections with others.
They can make all the difference.
Totally.
Having someone who believes in you, it can give you the strength to keep going when you feel like giving up.
I think that's like a perfect note to end this part of our conversation on.
I agree.
Surrounding yourself with a supportive community can be a game changer
Absolutely.
when it comes to staying motivated and achieving your goals. You know, it's amazing how much we've gotten out of just these little snippets from the Motivation, Fluent English podcast.
I know, right?
Belief discipline, embracing challenges,
Mm-hmm.
visualization, purpose.
Yeah, it's like a whole toolkit.
It really is like for tackling any goal.
Exactly.
And while we've like touched on some really great points,
Uh-huh.
I want to encourage everyone listening to actually go and check out like the full podcast episodes
Oh, yeah, too.
because they go so much deeper into all of these concepts.
And they have like tons of practical tips and inspiring stories.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. There's always something new to discover when it comes to motivation.
Always.
What's been like your biggest takeaway from our conversation so far?
That's a good question.
What's really resonated with you?
Honestly, I think it's just a reminder that motivation isn't something that you either have or you don't.
Right.
It's something that you build over time.
Yeah.
It's like a muscle.
Yeah.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
And it takes the pressure off too,
totally.
because you don't have to wait for like, this huge burst of inspiration to strike.
Right.
You can start taking those small steps today to build that motivation muscle.
Exactly. And what works for one person might not work for someone else.
That's true.
So experiment, try different things.
Yeah.
See what helps you stay engaged.
Totally.
See what keeps you excited about your goals.
This whole conversation has reminded me of something I heard recently.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It was motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. And it really made me think about how important it is to build those positive habits
Right.
that actually support the things we're trying to achieve.
Habits are like those invisible forces that shape our lives.
They really are.
And the best part is we have the power to choose which habits we cultivate.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be anything drastic.
No, not at all.
Even small changes like setting aside 15 minutes every day to work on a personal project
Right.
or going for a walk to just clear your
It
head.
can make a huge difference in the long run.
Those little things add up over time.
Absolutely. It's like that saying, little drops of water make a mighty ocean.
So true.
Consistency is key.
Yeah, the more we repeat those positive actions, the closer we get to actually achieving our goals.
For sure.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into motivation,
Yeah.
I'd love to leave our listeners with a bit of a challenge.
Okay. I like it.
What is one small action you can take today, right now, that will move you closer to a goal that you're really passionate about?
It could be something as simple as like writing down your goal
Yeah.
or brainstorming some ideas
Totally.
or reaching out to someone for support.
Just take that first step.
Even the smallest step can create momentum
Exactly.
and spark a chain reaction.
It's like that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
So true.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into motivation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We hope you've gotten some valuable insights.
And feel inspired.
Yeah, and feel inspired to take action towards your goals.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.